The chief of staff has to reflect and sometimes compliment the strengths of the president he serves. Sanders insists the party adopt the most progressive platform ever passed at its Philadelphia convention. Since when does the runner-up get to dictate the platform? There is no room for politics in the Commerce Department. The Microsoft actions announced today are exactly the kinds of industry initiatives we need. Microsoft is using its resources to bring real privacy protection to Internet users by creating incentives for more websites to provide strong privacy protection. In my opinion, it is not in our interest to have complicated negotiations with a region, and then have to follow it up with 535 negotiations at home. I have experienced recounts, and it is better to vote once. There is no question of the benefits that opening a market of 1 billion people will bring to American businesses. But as I said last year, this will test China and the world trade system. Contrary to what most people think, there is a Rich Daley under Mayor Daley. Some people would like the world to go back to the 1950s. Most people who talk about either entitlement cuts or revenue, when you have to put pen to paper, it is much more difficult. Politics is all about relationships, people. A lot of it's emotional. It's not rocket science. Bernie Sanders is making a big and potentially dangerous mistake with his continuing insistence on changes to the Democratic Party's rules and platform. I should know. As chairman of Al Gore's 2000 presidential campaign, I understand too well where such ideological stubbornness can lead. It's logical and fair to allow only registered or self-identified Democrats to choose their party's nominee, although numerous states do have open primaries. Letting more non-Democrats choose the nominee doesn't guarantee success in a November general election, and it does nothing to encourage people to join and work for the party. Centrist voters typically decide general elections, so hard-left or hard-right platforms don't help. Our focus must be on making America the best place on earth to do business. I got through at Ignatius. I did okay, not great in any of my academic endeavors. There are 14 cabinet spots, and God only knows how many hundreds of people want them. Commerce was the best job I could ever have. President Obama came into office in 2008 with the belief that, and the public's belief in him, that he was moderate, that he wasn't a big spender. No one knows the Senate better than Joe Biden. He lived there for 35 years. It's been proven in Washington, it's very hard to negotiate and try to get a deal done in public. It sounds good to say, we're going to do this, on C-SPAN, but try to do that in real life, and it's not going to work. Young people, motivating them in any election is hard to do. We can't give the impression to our allies or friends in Asia that because the president is against TPP, that therefore, economically, we're going to pull away from Asia. Trump is a different politician. He was a different businessman. His campaign was different. What you saw in his campaign is what you're going to see in his presidency. If anything, the Democrats' salvation may lie in the fact that Republicans seem even more hellbent on allowing their radical wing to drag the party away from the center. There are some who want to move us back to the days when we were protectionists and keep all goods off our shores. There's a growing sense among large corporations that to solve global problems like climate change, the responsibility can't fall just on the government. The business community has to be a big piece of that. You can use all the flowery words in the dictionary, but sooner or later, you have to let people know where you stand. Now that Donald Trump has won the presidency despite losing the popular vote, there's a growing cry to rethink, or even abolish, the Electoral College. This would be a mistake. I was Al Gore's campaign chairman in 2000, when he won 500,000 more votes than George W. Bush but lost the presidency. While imperfect, the Electoral College has generally served the Republic well. It forces candidates to campaign in a variety of closely contested races, where political debate is typically robust. While a truly national third party wouldn't necessarily be bad, smaller niche parties are ill-suited to our federalist system. There is no path to middle-class prosperity without tearing down barriers to American exports. If we don't set the rules for commerce in the Asia-Pacific region, China will. The mistake we made in the 1990s was overestimating the potential of NAFTA's positive impact. When the manufacturing decline began in earnest in 2001, the main culprits were the offshoring of jobs to China, with which we have no trade deal, and automation. As a pro-business Democrat, I understand the obligations of publicly traded companies to maximize returns to shareholders. When a state offers your company an attractive package of incentives to relocate, you have to look at it, and if it significantly boosts your bottom line, you have to take it or answer to your investors. Business leaders should show what our political leaders seem to lack, that is, a common-sense view of the times. Illinois needs a real strategy for job creation that grows the economy over the long term with high-wage jobs that rebuild the middle class. Most Republicans and the business community extol the virtues of trade, depicting it as an engine of economic progress, while most Democrats and unions attack the exportation of American jobs, claiming that trade agreements are destroying our economy. I know something about trade agreements. I was proud to help President Clinton pass the North American Free Trade Agreement in 1993 and create what is still the world's largest free trade area, linking 426 million people and more than $12 trillion of goods and services. As Commerce Secretary, I led the Clinton administration's effort to ensure China's entry into the World Trade Organization and the permanent normalization of trade between the U.S. and China, steps that produced a 76% increase in U.S. exports to China in just 3 years. The reason CAFTA should be enacted is not economic benefits, it is national security. Palin's blatant lack of competence and preparedness needs no belaboring. What's critical is that substantive, serious Republican leaders either wouldn't or couldn't declare, before or after the election, this is not what our party stands for. We can and must do better. Whether McCain actively sought Palin in 2008 or passively yielded to aides pressure, he set a new standard for GOP candidates who rely on lots of sizzle and little substance. The Republican establishment's 2008 embrace of Palin set an irresponsibly low bar. Coincidence or not, a batch of nonsense spewing, hard-right candidates quickly followed, often to disastrous effect. Party leaders aren't responsible for every candidate's gaffe. Trade is an integral part of our foreign policy. Obviously, in a campaign, people say lots of things that they find, when they get in the office, life's a little different. Visit our website for more quotes, quoting.com.